everyone, it's Swapna Haddow here. I am at the halfway point. I'm in month 3 as the University of Otago College of Education Creative New Zealand Children's Writer in Residence. So I thought I would check in and let you know how I'm getting on. I have done some writing, which is brilliant. I've deviated slightly from the plot plan that I had in the last video, but that's okay because it was quite a loose plan. It wasn't hugely detailed. And I knew the minute I started writing, I would get to sit with my characters a bit more. And, you know, often they lead the story for me. So I knew that was going to happen, so it's fine. I'm not panicking. Okay, so I thought I would talk to you about characters, which is one of my favourite things to talk about, because for me, when I'm writing a story, characters come first, above, you know, storylines, plot lines, titles. Characters always come first to me, and they sit with me for quite a while before I start writing. And anyone who knows the kind of books I write, traditionally I write young fiction, where the stories are very character heavy. The plots are very linear, very simple, and what drives the story is the character. So this is Dave. That's him there, illustrated by Sheena Dempsey. And, you know, he is quite obnoxious. He's quite self-centered. We've got Lynn here. That's Lynn there from the Bad Panda series, also illustrated by the brilliant Sheena Dempsey. And Lynn she's incredibly courageous. She has a really strong sense of what's right and what's wrong. And she, you know, if she feels there's some injustice there in life, she will, you know, sort of try and fix it. Unfortunately, she lets her emotions kind of get in the way, so she can be quite volatile when she feels like something bad's going on in the world. And then who have we got here? Yes, so I write the Ballet Bunny series as Swapna Reddy, and these are illustrated by Binny Talib. And that's Millie in the centre there. And Millie's quite shy. She's quite, you know, she's not the most confident dancer, but she loves dance. She really loves ballet. And so these stories are all about building her confidence. So those are some of the characters that I have, you know, spent a lot of time with, who spend a lot of time in my head. And I thought I'd talk to you today about how I invest in my characters before I start writing. I feel really strongly that if you know your character really, really well, they will basically write the story for you. You know, if Dave was going to find a golden ticket in a chocolate bar, his story would be very much different from Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, because he probably would eat the chocolate and also eat the ticket, and the story will be done in a chapter. Let's think, if Millie here found a golden ticket in a chocolate bar, she'd probably think it belonged to someone else, and would spend the entirety of the book trying to get the golden ticket back to the rightful owner. So, you know, it really, if you know your character, they'll write the story for you, because of the way they react in their own special way. So one of the things I do, and not everyone does this, but one of the things I do when I am thinking about my characters is I kind of interview them. I'll sit down, I'll plan out some questions, really just to get to know my character really well, if I'm sure I know this character. So, you know, I often start with, what are they? Are they a human? Are they an animal? Are they an alien? Are they a pair of socks? Whatever they are, you know, that's usually my first one, just because I kind of think quite visually, so I quite like to know what my character sort of looks like in my head. Once I've done that, the next thing you'd probably move on to is their name. However, I'm really rubbish at names, so I usually have to get to the end of a book before I've got a name. And I also find, like, if you're stuck up with a word count, if you're kind of always going over your word counts, you can use your word count. You could use a name, sorry, of your characters to, you know, sort of save you some word count. So that's one of the characters. He's a villain from Dave Pigeon Nuggets. He's actually an evil inventor who's invented a pigeon nugget maker because he's got a vendetta against all pigeons. And so I wanted a name that was quite that describes him, which is quite sinister and quite grimy. So he is Reginald Grimster. And when you say the word, when you say his name, you can't help but think, ew. Which is kind of where I was going with this. So that's Reginald Grimster. You say it out loud, Reginald Grimster. It sounds kind of bleh. So, you know, that's a good way to save a bit of word count if you're kind of one of those people that keeps sort of looming over your word count. You can use a character's characteristics in their name, which is brilliant, and also really good fun for that age group, especially if you're writing for young fiction. So yes, you've got your name, or you're waiting till the end of your interview before you've got your name. I don't know why I'm quite so shiny on this. Sorry about that. I'm trying to move into better lighting. No, that's probably making it worse. Anyway, you'll just have to put up with my very shiny head. Next on my questions, I often ask, who is your sidekick? Do you have a sidekick or a best friend? And that is a good question to ask, because often when you're writing a very exciting character, they become a bit of an unreliable narrator. So Dave Pigeon is a classic example. He's a very unreliable narrator, which makes it difficult for the reader to connect with if he's telling the entirety of the story. So his best friend Skipper, he's there on the front there with Dave. His best friend Skipper is much more sensible and sort of balances him out. So it's good if you have a best friend or a sidekick to just figure out what the relationship is between them. Are they friends? Are they cousins? Are they grandmother, granddaughter, or whatever it is? You know, it's good to figure that out because that relationship will be very unique to them, and how they call on that relationship in the story when they can, you know, because you can't really call on your grandparents while you're in school if something's happening. That's also going to be important to the story. So once I've done that, then I'll sit down with my very tailored questions, and this is completely up to you. You can come up with your own questions. The sorts of things I like to ask often are, you know, if your house was on fire, what is the first thing you would grab? And that usually tells you something about the what's at the heart of your character, what's important to them. If they grab you know, sort of their school bag and their laptop, there's something kind of logical and sensible about that character. If they grab a photo, there's something sentimental about that character. If they grab a bag of snacks, they're probably a pigeon. So, you know, there's lots of different motivations around what you might grab if your house was on fire. You know, if they were to find treasure on the street, what would they do with that treasure? And I keep it quite loose with treasure because, you know, what's one person's treasure is, you know, another man's rubbish, or whatever that phrase is. So, you know, if your character was a rabbit and found like a whole bunch of carrots, what would they do with that? You know, like I said with Millie, she'd probably want to get them back to their rightful owner. So again, it gives you a sense of the motivations of your character and what they want to achieve and what they would do in certain scenarios. And you keep going through, you keep asking questions. The more questions you ask, the more fun questions you ask, the more you find out about your characters. I did do a blog about this when I was part of the Stay at Home Literature Festival, and I will try and find that and link that in below. That will give you some sort of, you know, very basic structure of a character interview, but absolutely keep adding your own things to the interview. I hope that's helpful to you. I am very fully invested in my characters, so I'm going to start writing now. Oh, I've lost my shiny head. Brilliant. Just at the end of this. Excellent timing, Swapna. I will see you next month, where hopefully I've written a bit more and we'll talk about what I've been up to then. Bye.